Welcome back to Studio Raven. Today we have a quick video to go over some more problems that people have been facing when trying to have the Add to Cart button present on their collections page. So essentially what happens if I go ahead and redo here and save is the issue that a lot of people are having is once they put the code in, this is what they're seeing. They're seeing everything comes as sold out. You can't click on anything, and you'll double check your product information and you'll swear that there's inventory, and even for variants you can select, but everything is still sold out. Whereas if I were to re-add the code that we just had, we can see that that issue is not present. So I'm going to go ahead and go over why this problem occurs, how it occurred in the first place, and of course, how to fix it. Timestamps in the description if you just want to skip to the fix and you don't want to hear the explanation. And hopefully this helps everybody with the last bits of what they are experiencing and finding as a blocker to what it is that they're trying to do. So let's get to it. So I'm going to be explaining this issue first and explaining how this problem occurs and why a few of you may be experiencing this. This is actually an issue that has to do with the directions that were given in the original video. If you happened to skip one of the parts to that video, then you could end up with either an unchanged form or a form that was changed incorrectly. So essentially, we have from capture form all the way down to end form, and if I were to delete that and save, then the moment that I refreshed on this page, all of the add to cart buttons would be gone. The reason for that is this form code is actually what's generating these add to cart buttons. From the original video, it was mentioned in the instructions that we were going to go into our product template and copy from capture form classes down to end form and then paste that in this section above the two divs here and then save. After pasting, we had made a couple of changes to this code, but let's see what happens if I just paste this and go back and refresh. Well, as you can see, we are experiencing that issue where everything says that it's sold out. So now that we know what's been causing the problem, we can go ahead and implement the solution to the problem. So let's go ahead and do that now. Inside our editor here, there are two things that we want to change. The first is to Control F or Command F, depending on your operating system, and find all of the section IDs. It's very important to get all of them, and we remove the section and put product. We can go into our Finder again and just press enter, and it'll find for us the next entry for us to change. And we're just going to keep doing this until eventually it finds nothing else for us to change. And now we are good. There's one last change that we need to make. That change is to find all instances of current underscore variant. And we're going to do the same thing. Every time we see something highlighted in yellow, we're going to replace it with just variant. Come back up here, press enter, and then change that to just variant. Come back up, press enter, and it looks like those were all of the instances. So let's go ahead and save this code. And now when we go onto our collections page, we should see that all of the add to carts are now running. So I'm actually going to go back and uncomment the code that we have from JavaScript from last time and save that. And then I'm going to go ahead and refresh this, and we can see that these add to cart buttons are now functioning. So that solves the issue of just seeing sold out on your add to cart buttons and not knowing why that would occur. The most important part of this is to change all instances of current variant to variant. That was in the original video, but I understand that if you are skipping around to the important bits, it's easy to skip a small section like that, as I believe it was only about 60 seconds of the original video. So now we're going to talk about a lesser known bug which actually happens with the variant selector. So here if I add to cart, you see that it added the DD variant of Dexter to the cart. That's great. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. But what happens if I go and select Dexter? Then I click add to cart. Well, it turns out that it just adds DD to the cart. And in one of the original videos, I did mention that we were going to go over this. So let's go over this now. To get started on this, the problem is that our variant selector is not working as expected. It's continuously defaulting to the first variant on the list, no matter what. Don't worry, I checked. That's in fact what it is doing. So let's go ahead and solve this. Now, this one is actually pretty interesting. In the past, in our code, so far, what we've done is we have copy and pasted a form from another template file, and we've added a little bit of JavaScript that was stolen from the, let's just go back here, that was stolen from the themes javascript.liquid file in order to trick the theme into believing that this form is being rendered from the product page and it is perfectly registered as an add to cart drawer form. So this last fix, we've used HTML, we've used JavaScript. This last fix is actually a CSS related fix. This took me a while in practice to actually figure out why this was the case and why this was happening. I was personally working on a client's website who wanted this functionality, and when I found that nobody had any documentation on what it was that I was trying to do here, this is what inspired me to make this video series, because of how strange and not straightforward this seemingly very easy and straightforward thing was. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what the solution is first, because I think if I tried to explain it, I would just end up confusing everybody. So we're going to add some inline CSS here. We're going to start with a bracket, style, close bracket, enter bracket slash style, close bracket. In the middle here, we are going to add CSS to the class single-option-selector dash, and then we are going to use some liquid here and say product.id, and we are going to have an opening and closing brackets and say display none. So we are hiding an element in CSS. So what we're actually hiding is this variant selector, because this actually does nothing. It's leftover code that we copied from the product template.liquid file, which is supposed to work on the product page, but since we're not on the product page, it doesn't work. So we're going to use CSS to completely hide that. And then luckily enough for us, this product form already has an alternate selector that we can then show. And this is going to allow that selector to be used instead of this default one which is being shown. And to do that, we're going to say hashtag product select dash dash, then some more liquid, product.id, and then on the inside here we're going to do a little bit more of liquid magic, and we're going to say if the product is available, and we're going to say endif, and then we're also going to add an unless the product has only the default variant, and then again we're going to end that unless. Then what we're going to want to do is display block, and we want that to be important. That way it overrides any other display CSS that element has on it. And that's it. That's all we have to do. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to refresh the page here. And we've noticed that our selector has changed. It's a lot bigger. It's showing the price now. And it's a little bit uglier. But if we were to select Mandark and add to cart, then Mandark has indeed been added to our cart. And we can go ahead and test this and say we want a DD, and we want a Dexter, and we'll add a Mandark as well. Now we have all three variants added, and this solves that problem. Once again, the explanation is that our default selector wasn't actually doing anything. It's left over from code that was taken from the product template, and because it's not on the page it was expecting to be on, it doesn't actually do anything. So we needed to hide that and then show the actual selector that would work on this page, would work on any page. And this little liquid magic here is just making sure that this does not display unless the product is available, meaning all variants are checked to make sure that there's at least one sellable variant with inventory available. And it also won't show unless the product does not have just one variant. The default variant is anything given to products like these which do not have a variant. So hopefully that helped everybody with their questions in terms of how to get rid of the sold out on the page that won't go away, and how to add variants with the add to cart button on Brooklyn. So if you have any more questions, please post them in the comments. I try to answer everybody, and if you're lucky enough, I'll even make a video addressing your question directly. So I hope everybody's safe, and I will talk to you guys soon.